What differentiates geniuses like Leonardo da Vinci from us mere mortals? Are geniuses being born or made? But first, let me introduce Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo da Vinci was a 15th century Italian polymath whose genius spanned art, science, engineering, anatomy, and invention, best known for masterpieces like The Last Supper and Mona Lisa.
Da Vinci had a very specific approach to life that anyone can learn. In a book called How to Think Like Leonardo da Vinci, 7 Steps to Genius Overnight, written by American author Michael J. Gell. First is curiosity, means always wanting to learn new things and ask questions because you're really curious about how the world works. Second one is demonstration. Demonstration means trying things out for yourself, learning by doing and not giving up, even when you make mistakes. Third one is sensation. Sensation means using sharpening your senses, especially your eyes, to notice more details and enjoy the world more fully.
For the fourth one, it's called sfumato or going up in smoke, which basically means being okay with uncertainty. It's about accepting that not everything has clear answers. Next is arte scienza. This one's all about balance, using both logic and creativity. Like, think with both sides of your brain. Da Vinci combined art and science, so we should do the same. Now we have corporalitas. This is about taking care of your body and staying balanced. Da Vinci believes that being healthy helps you think better. This is how you think like Da Vinci. And lastly, connection. This one's about seeing how everything is connected. It's like realizing that all ideas, people, and things affect each other.
Moving on, let's talk about medium and technique in art. The medium is the material an artist uses, like paint, clay, or paper. On the other hand, the technique is how the artist uses that material, which is why artworks look different even with the same medium. Visual arts include 2D forms like painting, drawing, printmaking, and photography. But first, let's discuss painting. Painting means applying color on a surface such as paper, canvas, or walls. Artists use brushes, sponges, or even their hands. Paint can be thick or thin, creating different effects on the artwork. Their color choices show mood and meaning. They select a paint that best expresses their ideas. Now, in painting, there are different painting mediums and techniques. The first one is the encaustic paint, which is made by mixing color with melted wax and resin. When the wax is hot, it spreads smoothly, and when it cools down, it becomes solid. Second one is fresco painting, which uses watery colors and fresh, lightly wet plaster. Third one is tempera paint, which mixes color with water and sometimes egg yolk. Fourth one is oil paint, which mixes color with oil, making it bright and slow drying. Famous example is Van Gogh's Starry Night. The fifth one is the watercolor, which mixes color with water. Sixth one is the gouache, it is a stronger opaque version of watercolor kids. Lastly is the acrylic paint, which mixes color with acrylic polymer. It can look like watercolor or oil, but it dries very fast and sticks to many surfaces. Acrylic paint techniques. First is glazing for transparent layers, impasto for thick texture, dry brush and scumbling for rough or soft effects, graffito for scratching, wet on wet for blending, modeling paste for extra thickness, stencils, sponges, masking, drips and splatter, hard edges and soft edges, and gel medium to build layers and textures.
To continue what have been discussed, let us now proceed to drawing. Drawing is the easiest and fastest way to share ideas and pictures. It's like a universal language and you don't need words to understand it. Moving on, let's discuss about the drawing mediums and the techniques. The drawing mediums or the drawing tools can be divided into two main groups, which is the dry mediums and the liquid mediums. The dry mediums or the dry tools, these are the tools that you usually hold like a stick and rub it directly to the piece of paper. Example of this is a graphite, chalk, charcoal, and a crayon. The second medium is the liquid medium or the liquid tools. These tools are usually wet and need another tools that can be put into a piece of paper. Example of this is ink. Now let's proceed to the next drawing medium, which is the liquid media or the liquid tools. Liquid media like pen and ink is popular because it makes smooth, steady lines and it is cheap. The main drawback is that it is permanent and hard to erase unlike a pencil. Now let's proceed to the next topic, which is the printmaking. Printmaking is a process used to make many copies of an artwork that are nearly identical. The artist creates a master surface called a matrix. a metal plate or a stone that holds the ink. This matrix is pressed into the paper to make an impression or to make the print. Now, let's discuss about the different types of the printing method. The first one is the relief printing. Relief printing is the simplest method where the image is created by printing from the original surface of a block. To start, the artist uses carving tools to cut away all the parts of the block like wood that they do not want to print. Once carved, the raised and untouched parts form the design. Ink is then rolled into this raised surface, completely avoiding the carved away or the lowered areas. This is the example of a relief printing. And now, let's move on to the next printing method, the intaglio printing. Intaglio printing is a method where an image is made of lines and areas cut below the surface of a metal plate like copper or zinc. To print, the plate is covered with ink and then the surface is wiped clean, leaving ink only trapped inside the sunken lines. The next printing method is the lithography. Lithography is a unique printing method based on the fact that oil and water do not mix, and it uses a completely flat surface unlike relief or intaglio. Now this is an example of a lithography print. The next printing method is the screen printing or the serigraph. It is essentially a stenciling method where a fine woven mesh screen acts as a support for the stencil. Now this is an example of a screen printing. And for the last type of a printing method is none other than monotype. Monotype is a unique printing process often called the painterly print because it creates an image that can only be printed once. The artist draws or paints their image directly into a smooth and non-absorbent plate like glass, metal, or plastic using ink or paint. Since there is no permanent structure like carvings or etched lines, the image is then transferred by placing paper over the painted plate and running it through a press, or sometimes by rubbing the back of the paper by hand. The key feature is that almost all the ink is completely lifted off the plate in the single transfer, leaving little or nothing for a second print, making every monotype a unique image. Now this is an example of a monotype printing.
Mosaic is a decorative art of creating pictures and patterns on a surface by setting small colored pieces of glass, marble, or other materials in a bed of cement, plaster, or adhesive. This is an example of mosaic art. There are three different ways of creating a mosaic. First, the direct method where the pieces is created directly into the surface of the chosen site. Second, the indirect method where it is created temporarily face down on a sticky backing and later transferred to the final site. Last, the double indirect method. Instead of tiles being face down onto the sticky backing, they are placed face up to allow the artist to see the pattern being created. And once the mosaic is finished, another layering of sticky backing is applied onto the top of it. After that, the mosaic will be transferred to the final site as an indirect method. For the next art, let me introduce to you the collage. It is a French word that means pasting or gluing. In art, it refers to the practice of attaching actual objects such as paper or cloth to the surface of a canvas or other support. Another art is stained glass. The colored glass used for making decorative windows and other objects through which light passes. All colored glasses are stained or colored with the addition of various metallic oxides while it is in a molten state. Photography. It literally means drawing the light, or it is the art and practice of creating images by recording light, either electronically with an image sensor or chemically on light-sensitive material like film. These are the types of file format in photography. JPEG format is the common one used automatically by most cameras. RAW format is used for further editing. PIF format is used for enlargements.
These are the basic photography composition techniques. The main purpose of composition is to influence viewing behavior. First, simplification. It concentrates on a single subject using a small field or depth or eliminating distracting elements that can take the limelight of your subject.
Filling the frame. For this technique, move closer to your subject to strengthen your composition. Allows the focus to fall on your subject. Next, rule of thirds. This composition is based on the premise that putting the subject off-center produces a deeper, more natural-looking composition and enables you to use the negative space in the development. Framing involves using or adding frame elements to emphasize and lead viewers eyes towards to the subject. Color and contrast. It is great for creating a stunning and well-balanced image. Contrast, an essential form of color, it works similarly in improving your composition, more so for monochromatic images. Leading lines and shapes. It is significant because our eyes are naturally drawn to the lines and shapes. Symmetrical balance, used for creating visual balance in your photo. Next one is asymmetrical balance. It is when different elements on each other side of the design look different but still feel evenly weighted and visually balanced. Lastly is depth and layering. This means that in photography, it's placing different elements at various distances from the camera so the viewer's eyes moves naturally through the image, creating a richer and more 3D-dimensional feeling. Now, let's talk about 3D-dimensional art or 3D. First is sculpture. Sculpture is a 3D-dimensional artwork created using different processes such as carving, modeling, casting, or assembling materials using clay, fabric, or metal. There are 5 basic methods for making a sculpture. First is carving. Carving is a subtractive method process where the cuts or chips away material from a larger mass, and it is the oldest method of creating 3D art. Second one is casting. It is an additive method in which a liquid material is poured into a mold to create a form. Third one is modeling. It can be both additive and subtractive, as the artists shape and build forms using soft materials like clay or plaster. The fourth one is assemblage. It uses found object to build a sculpture, with artists is gluing, bolting, wiring, and piecing items together. The second one is architecture, where it refers to the art and science of designing and constructing buildings. The materials for the architecture are raw materials like sand, gravel, wood, metal, steel, and etc. Then there is what we call interior design, a selection of space and furnishing to transform an empty shell into a livable area. Next is landscape architecture. A design and development of landscape and gardening capture the needs of the environment just like this.
Medium and technique approach in auditory arts. Auditory arts are the kinds of art we can hear. They exist through time just like literature uses words and sound from the human voice. Music also uses sound, but it can come from both the voice and instruments. Now, there are 2 main mediums in music. First is the vocal medium or the voice. It is the oldest and most natural instrument, personal, and it comes from within the body. Second is the instrumental medium. These are the tools we use to make sound like strings, woodwinds, and brass and percussion. Moreover, voices are grouped based on their range. First is soprano, which is the highest female voice, mezzo-soprano, the middle female voice, alto or contralto, the lowest and richest female voice, countertenor, a male voice that sounds like a female contralto, tenor, the highest male voice, baritone between tenor and bass, bass, the lowest and deepest male voice. Instruments are divided into 4 main types. Strings, which are played by bowing or plucking like violin and guitar, woodwinds made of wood and played by blowing like flute or clarinet, brass made of brass and played by blowing like trumpet or trombone, and lastly, percussion instruments, ones that you strike or hit like drums or cymbals. Medium and technique approach in combined arts. Combined arts mix what we see and hear. They exist in both space and time. Examples include theater and dance, where there's movement, sound, color, and emotion all happening together. Combined arts use a mix of sound, images, body movement, objects, and technology to create live performances. Now, talking about dance, it is a way to express feelings, emotions, and ideas through movements. The dancer's body becomes the instrument of expression. Over time, dance has grown from traditional styles like ballet to more modern expressive forms that include everyday movement. In the 1960s, dance even became a way to express freedom and resist societal rules. Though it later became less popular, dance remains a strong form of creative and emotional expression.
Dance is a medium for personal activity, including expressing oneself in a free, spontaneous, guided, or structured movements. Choreographer Trisha Brown was an integral figure of the American postmodern dance movement, and the influence of her works still prevails today. Her style was often referred to as release technique. Ralph Lemon is a contemporary choreographer, dancer, writer, artist in no particular order. For him, there is no boundary between spectator and experience. Film never is a film made by a great director or actor alone, but instead the result of a wide range of different artists, each contributing to a larger production. Film uses a medium that entirely works for a film's sake. Never confuse the medium of film from theater. Although hybrid productions now mix the mediums of both, the medium of film is more prescriptive than that of theater, which is suggestive because of the film's basis in photography. There are three different mediums of filmmaking. First, 2D animation, CG animation and live action, 3D animation, also referred as CGI or just CG, made by generating images using computers. Filmmakers have their own styles and techniques as dictated by their artistic freedom. Like for example, Wes Anderson, the most prominent contemporary example, with a style so unique that it is difficult to confuse him with other filmmakers. His signature techniques is symmetrical, centered framing, meticulous set design, specific, often muted color palettes, and a deadpan, quirky tone.